This is the Dover Download Podcast. My name is Christopher Parker, and for the past 25 years, I've had the pleasure of working with, learning from, and talking to a variety of volunteer, staff, and community members. This podcast explores conversations, activities, and a variety of policies and programs which exist here in Dover to improve the community in one way or another. I've been with the city since 1997, and in that time, one of the topics of conversation at every level has been, when are we going to get the Dover Waterfront underway? Well, about a year ago, we answered that question, and we thought it would be a good time for an update. So today we're going to be joined by Rob Simmons from Cathartes, who's the private developer of the Waterfront site, and Jamie Stevens, who's the project manager on the city side. Rob, how are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
So, as I said, you're representing the private developer, and I know our agreements say CPI, but I think everyone knows you as Cathartes. Is that fair?
That is fair.
What is your role with Cathartes?
I am the Director of Development with Cathartes, responsible for all things on the development side of the company, from entitlements right on through to construction.
So, speaking of construction, what happens when we give you the keys?
When we have the keys, step one will be mobilization. So our team, our general contractor, will set up fencing around the site. We'll get their trailer there. We'll get all their equipment on site, and they'll begin with soil improvements. And within several months, you'll probably start to see concrete going up as well as steel, which will be then followed by wood and cladding.
What I think is going to be really fun to watch is the combination of your buildings coming up out of the ground and us finishing the ground. Because one of the unique properties of our partnership is that we own the site work for the roads, the utilities, and all the subgrade stuff is in place, but the surface level things are going to continue to be installed as you're working on your coming out of the ground.
Yes, I think the importance of this project really is the synergies and cooperation between the city and us as the private developer. I don't think it could have ever happened without having that collaboration, at least for the last 5 to 6 years that I've been working on it, and right on through construction. While we're going up vertically with the wood and the steel, putting the windows in and finishing the inside of the building, you and Jamie's team will be finishing the roadways, finishing the sidewalks, putting in the landscaping, the park. So it'll all be happening together, and it'll be pretty amazing to watch.
Have you done projects like this to that degree with other partners?
I'll have to say this is probably the most complex public-private partnership we've worked on.
Yeah, it's certainly the most complex we've had the opportunity for. And it's funny because I hear from people all the time, why does it take so long? And I'm like, do you want to really know the history of that site and the complexity? You've got the river, you've got the soils, you've got the uses, you've got the unknowns. You know, we've both encountered many unknowns on this project over the past couple of years, and it's a good learning experience.
Definitely, I would say the most complicated part of any development is getting out of the ground, because even in the ground, we don't know what's in the ground. And it takes so much to just get to the point of actually getting something to come out of the ground. And there's a lot of lead up. I mean, our projects on average take 2 to 4 years. So this is nothing normal for us on development. And I think it's been a great collaboration though so far.
How are things going at Orpheum? It looks like it still looks brand new. It still looks beautiful. You guys have done a great job of maintaining it. How is the building holding up on your end?
It's going great. The building is holding up well. We have been pretty much fully leased and occupied ever since opening. 95 to 100% occupancy on that building. We have a great community over there. Our property management team has done a great job establishing that community. They have weekly and monthly events that we have unbelievable turnout. So that building's been going really well, and I think it's a great building to have in place as we continue to push the Cocheco Waterfront project, because it kind of shows we're going to put this there.
Yeah, I think it's a great welcome mat for you. It really, my impression is it acts as a good feeder for you. And people, I'm sure, reach out and say, how can I get in there? And you can say, wait a second, why don't you come here in a little bit?
Not only is it a good feeder, but it certainly helped with project financing. So one of the most important pieces of any development project is convincing a bank to give you money to build it. Yeah. And we've been able to take all of the banks through that building, show them what we've done, talk about our relationship and our public-private partnership that we had on that building and how successful it was, walk them through, and completely sold. We walk over to the dirt parcels over at Cocheco, and they can kind of see that vision.
Cool. Thinking about those dirt parcels and what their development will be, can you walk the listener through what the mixture of units is going to be, the residential commercial mix, and how you see those occurring?
Sure. So phase one is going to be about 220 residential units. That will be broken out between 3 buildings. Well, 5 buildings, really. The townhouses are broken up into 3 structures. Building C will be about 97 units, and Building D will be 100 units. And those buildings, you could call those the flats. They will be, a typical multifamily building, elevator access, 2 elevators for each building. And we will have a mix of studios, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and 3 bedrooms. I think the difference of that unit mix in Orpheum is that we put a little more focus on the 3 bedrooms in those buildings because of what we saw as a demand in the Orpheum building.
I was going to say, we hear a lot that people would love 3-bedroom units in the downtown.
And we listened. Yes, we heard the same. So we've increased our percentage of 3 bedrooms just for that reason. A lot of those will be, you can think families for one, but most of it's empty nesters who live in Dover. They lived in Dover their whole life, and they don't want to leave Dover, but they also don't want to deal with their house and their yard and everything else anymore. They want to move somewhere where they can leave for a couple months, maybe in the winter. Everything's taken care of, and then they can come back in the summer and the spring months.
Yeah, I've heard a couple of folks who said they were looking for 3 bedrooms, mainly so that they could have a spare room for the grandkids to come visit. Not for anyone else to live there, but...
Exactly. Yep, we're seeing that a lot as well. Their kid coming home from college, or maybe the grandkid, but having that separate room is extremely important. And on this project in particular, which we haven't done on a lot of different projects, is we've added another unit type, which is the townhouse. So the townhouse type is a 2,200 square foot product. It's 3 bedrooms, 3 floors, your own private garage with an extra parking spot. It's a similar demographic, but a different product type. For someone that is downsizing, but really has to bring, at least they have to bring that couch. They can't get rid of that couch. They have to bring it. So they need a little more space than the typical 3-bedroom apartment unit. So we're excited about offering that as a new product type.
And there'll be some commercial in these buildings, or at least not in the townhouses, obviously, but in the C and D, there'll be some commercial activity.
Yes, we will have ground floor commercial in both buildings C and D. We are going to offer a co-working option like we offer at Orpheum. So, for the public to come in, rent an office, rent a conference room, or just have a place to sit down up on a banquette seat or at a separate table. You can utilize the copier, the high-speed Wi-Fi, get your coffee. So we're going to offer the co-work as well as some food and beverage options. We actually have interest and are on the way to a lease with a local operator who will be opening a coffee shop and a takeout restaurant. So we're excited about announcing that.
Good. And then there still is A, B, and F hanging out there for once the juices get flowing.
Still A, B, and F, and we're excited to get going on those as soon as we can.
So on our end, I think that we're still excited. We still see the potential, and we're looking at this project. And I talk about it with Jamie all the time. All of a sudden, we're going to look in the rearview mirror, and you're going to be out of the ground, and we're going to be having ribbon cuttings and things of that nature. Will it go as fast as I think it's going to go?
That's our goal. Our goal is to, once we break ground on the first phase, is to move right through phases. There's no reason to stop the progress of construction and development. It'll be as the market bears, but that's the plan, is right when we put that first shovel in the ground, finish everything.
I got to think that part of what's driving that is the availability of the trades and wanting to keep them on site so they don't go find another project of this size somewhere else.
For sure, yes. When we bid this project out to the general contractors and to the subcontractor world, I think it was very attractive for them to see this is phase one of a multi-phase project. This is 200 units of a 400-unit project. So, they wanted to make sure they were in on the ground level so that they could continue through and work on all the buildings, I'm sure.
When do you start building the wait list?
We've already begun the wait list, actually. We get, I would say we're starting to get 2 calls a month for sale product. We get a lot of interest in the rentals as well. So we've been building this wait list, honestly, for the last 3 years. Right. I think as soon as people heard we were involved and we were going through permitting, we started to get calls, and we have a list of about 100 people at this point who have expressed interest. So we're excited to reach out to them when we have something.
All along that lines, if the listener wants to learn more, maybe not get on the wait list, but learn more about what your vision is there a web page or
Yes.
I'm probably dating myself. It's probably an Instagram page or however those function.
We have the social media pages. I think the easiest is probably to just go to our website at cathartes.com, and there is a contact page, which you can email us, call us, or just put in a question questionnaire.
Cool. Anything else you want the listener to know before we sign off?
We're very excited. This has been a good time coming for us, but we're excited that we're finally here and putting a shovel in the ground and excited to see where this goes.
Cool. Well, as the spring progresses and the buildings come out of the ground, I'm sure you and I will continue to talk, but I appreciate you coming in today, and I hope you have a great evening.
Thank you very much.
Now that we've heard from Rob about what he and Cathartes are going to do with the property, let's talk to Jamie Stevens, the city's project manager, about what's happened out on the site to date. Jamie, welcome.
Hi, how are you, Chris?
Good. How are you today?
Wonderful.
So, you get to live the dream of sitting on a construction site all day long.
I do.
What's that like? What's the listener missing out on?
Never a dull moment. Although it doesn't look like a lot, because a lot of the work that's done to date is subsurface. I assure you that there's an army of ants moving about, accomplishing various tasks daily.
I know early on in the process, which has been about a year actually, I remember calling you and being like, dude, it doesn't seem like anyone's out there. And you were like, they're coming. And then all of a sudden one day it looked like there were like 20, 30 different crews out there doing a variety of things.
Yeah, on a daily basis, there's anywhere between 5 and 6 crews, somewhere in the neighborhood of, there's been upwards of 30 to 38 people on site at a time, all working on different elements, all like cohesively at the same time. And now we're nearing the point where subsurface work is nearing completion within the city's right-of-way, and they're moving on to more of the things like the road improvements themselves and stabilized access. But for the most part, all utilities are installed in the right-of-way now.
When we talk about those crews, we're talking about the waterfront itself. We're not talking about the Payne Street pump station improvements. We're not talking about the dredge cell at this point. All those people are dedicated to the shoreline stabilization, the roadway improvements, the utility installation, prepping the site for what the developer likes to call pad ready, right?
That's correct. Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that. We also have another project going on within our project that encompasses a whole separate set of crew of individuals doing construction on another city asset, the River Street Pump Station, formerly River Street Pump Station, now Payne Street Pump Station, I'm imagining. But
which, as you said, is an apropos name.
Yeah, Payne Lane is jokingly. But yes, there's a number of things going on all at once. And as you mentioned, Chris, we're about to segue into the formal closure of the dredge cell property, which will be another whole group of people. And now that Rob and his folks are getting demobilized, I mean, there could be literally hundreds of people on the site a day once things start to go vertical. So it'll be a trapeze of personnel.
Well, I was going to say, what's it like learning on the job juggling?
Yeah, well, it's a forced skill. I've as we talked before, I've become quite good at juggling several things at once, and it actually it helps. It's a talent that can be applied other places. It is a balancing act, and I've become pretty good at it, and hopefully I can carry that through this project to its fruition.
It's only bad when you drop the chainsaw.
Yeah, don't drop the chainsaw.
The groundbreaking was on June 20th of 2023, so we're just shy of a year out from that. If the listener was out of commission for the past year, give a sense for what's changed, what's occurred.
So the overall grade of the site has come up extensively, in some cases 5 to 6 feet above where it was. Again, like I said before, this project went from neutral first gear to fifth, sixth gear, like in the snap of a finger. And in that, everything just sort of happened. All the city improvements, the grade adjustments, the formal remedial action plan for the site closure is partially complete now, and we expect to segment that through to final completion somewhere in the neighborhood of like spring 2026, I believe. So there's been a lot. It's been a lot. The biggest wow factor was, of course, the vegetation removal and the blasting of that extensive ledge crop that we had found that we needed to remove in order to prepare the site for Cathartes. But as I mentioned, the viewer from across the river, I like to say, things have kind of stabilized and not a lot of wow factor visual changes have happened over the past, I'd say, like month and a half. But as Cathartes comes in and starts going vertical, the landscape will change even more.
It might have stabilized, but I don't think that you can overstress the visual improvement that the seawall That's a work of art.
It is, and there's a couple of very talented individuals that work for Northeast Mechanics, Earth Mechanics, that were responsible for the construction of that wall. One guy in particular, his name is Mike Turner. A very talented man to be able to look at a piece of rock on land and basically fit the puzzle so that it becomes this visual art piece, more or less. I mean, it's the noticeable improvement first and foremost.
And it'll just get improved when we add the shoreline stabilization from the living wall.
Yeah, so atop that granite toe wall, you'll be looking to see plantings and what we call a living shoreline stabilization. So certain trees and certain flowering plants and so forth, they're going to vegetate in this apparatus called a Flex MSC application, which it's basically a live vegetated portion of that shoreline stabilization. So that will also add a little bit of pop to it.
So I noticed last time I was out there that the new street signs are up. And so we had a situation where the Waterfront Committee and then ultimately the City Council adopted their recommendation. But the Waterfront Committee recommended adjusting the names. You and I kind of jokingly referred to the River Street pump station as now the Payne Street pump station. Payne Street, in recognition of one of the founders of the mills. Actually, Henry Law Avenue was previously Payne Street and had been renamed. So this is a good way to bring that recognition back. And then as you cross the Macon Bridge, you're now on Seaport Way. And then River Street, that name has been retained for along the development area or the principal development area, the sort of loop road that is being constructed. The one curious thing that I've heard from a few people is you have a private residence up back. How's it been working with the owner of that property?
Very well. We've worked very cohesively with there's the sole resident, actually. There's a sole resident of the property. And, this is a lot of change that's taken place. Obviously, a lot of people didn't even know that structure was there until the vegetation removal process was completed. But we've provided access to her, 24/7, and she's been very, very willing to work with us. Her actually former water service was like 160-year-old cast iron main. So we've replaced that with an updated service that will intersect the dredge shell access road. So there have been improvements. Jokingly, she had said, I should have just had them clear all the vegetation around the home. So it's a very nice building, and it's basically the residence of the former jailer. The jail itself it's been dismantled back in the World War II era, but a very nice woman to deal with.
And I know before he retired, Gary Bannon and I had talked about that this might be a good opportunity for us to make some improvements at McGlarris Park, which in 2006 we did a plan for that, and you and the engineering team and I have talked about ways to do that. And I think that's another added benefit we'll see here is some improvements to those ball fields and the parking lot, which really is a dirt area. Mm-hmm. So I think coupled with the working with the other private property owner, Chris Pryor, who lives off of Henry Law, reconfiguring how you enter McGlarris Park and what you see for the ball fields in the long term will be a good improvement for the community.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The reconfiguration of those ball fields is needed. We have a surplus of some soils that can be applied to that project, and I look forward to helping facilitate that as well. My
understanding is that you're going to continue working on the public improvements, and at the same time, Rob and his team are going to be starting to, as you say, come out of the ground. Mm-hmm. The timing of all that is going to be critical. I can only imagine that you're going to end up having one more chainsaw in your juggling act.
Yeah. So looking at the construction schedule on the private portion, when I say private portion, I mean partner Cathartes. It's a very aggressive build cycle. I'd expect a lot of visual progress to happen very quickly. But yeah, it's another saw in the holster. I'll transition into doing some inspection work for their facilities, their private facilities, and hopefully, with my knowledge of the site, will help facilitate that a little more cohesively.
Well, this is a phenomenal project, and you've been doing a fabulous job juggling those chainsaws.
I appreciate that.
And I can't wait to sit and connect with you in 6 months and then again in a year when we look back and we were like, remember all the stress? Remember how much more hair you and I each had? It's all work.
I think it's wood gray, Chris.
I go for white.
The silver tsunami.
I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to come and sit with us today. I hope you have a great day.
Yeah, you too as well, Chris.
Dover has a wealth of history in its over 400 years of existence. Coming up, Mike Gillis is going to share some of that history with us.
For This Week in History, we're only stepping back in time 2 weeks to an important milestone in the Waterfront project. You just heard an update on the project from Rob Simmons of Cathartes, the private developer on the project, and Jamie Stevens, the city's project manager. At the end of last month, on May 31st, the Waterfront project took another important step forward. On that day, the city of Dover sold 3 waterfront parcels to Cathartes for $1.3 million as part of the first phase of the site's development. The parcels, encompassing more than 5 acres of the 29-acre site, include the property within the newly created River Street Loop Road and 1 parcel on the other side of River Street that borders another new road, Seaport Way. The sale allows Cathartes to begin constructing its buildings, working alongside the city's contractor making the public improvements to the site. As Rob discussed at the beginning of the podcast, the private development plan includes constructing 3 mixed-use buildings, 2 multi-family buildings, and 3 clusters of townhouses, with approximately 26,000 square feet of commercial space and 418 residential units. The city is responsible for creating streets, installing utilities, preparing sites for development, and creating the public park. The money from the land sale will be used to pay the bond payment of the Waterfront Tax Increment Financing District, along with increased valuations from the private development improvements. The bond is funding the public improvements to the site. The sale to Cathartes actually began in 2017 when the Cocheco Waterfront Development Advisory Committee sought to identify qualified developers. After a thorough selection process, Cathartes was designated as the preferred private developer in June 2018. The City Council then authorized the city manager to negotiate the agreement with Cathartes, which was signed on September 30th, 2019. The development of the waterfront has been a long time coming, with the idea being considered for decades. The waterfront holds significant importance to the city's history and its once thriving port. More than 4 centuries have passed since Europeans first settled the land that would become Dover, choosing the advantageous location at the convergence of several rivers and the bay. In Dover's early history, the waterfront was a hub of activity with numerous slips, landings, and shipyards lining both banks of the settlement. The sale of the waterfront parcels to Cathartes marks a new chapter in the story of Dover's waterfront. As the project progresses, it will not only bring new life to the area, but also pay homage to the city's rich maritime history.
Thanks for listening to the Dover Download this week. If you like what you heard, subscribe through your favorite podcast aggregator. And if you have something you want to hear a topic on, let us know. Finally, this is just one of the many ways we share information about the city of Dover. You can subscribe to the Dover Downloads email newsletter every week or other newsletters that we have by going to the City of Dover homepage, www.dover.nh.gov. Have a great week.